was called to come and diagnose this Kia Optima. It has difficult starting, and the check engine light is also on. I would prefer to use the OBD2 rather. So now when you start the vehicle, you see it takes time before it starts. So I'll just turn it off and turn it back on, then use the OBD2 to check the fault code on the system. There's a CAN system, so it will enter in it through the CAN protocol. Okay. So it's having this fault code, which is open in the cam sensor, the camshaft position sensor, which is the sensor A, which is the intake sensor. So I'll go back, clear the fault code, and start it again and see if it will appear. So back. And it's still appearing, so I'll turn it off again. Okay, now it starts and the check engine light is on. So maybe the check engine light is on. And it comes up again. So I'll take the sensor out. I'll turn it off and take the sensor out and get a new sensor to replace it, or a used one to replace the sensor in it. So this is the location of the sensor. I took it out, so I'm about to take it out from the vehicle and replace it with a new one. So this is the cam sensor for the intake. So I just took it out. So I'll test the circuit. So now I'll test power and ground and see if everything is okay. So now you can see the power. This is the ground. That means the ground is working. So I have to switch the pin. So now I have to test for power. And there is power. So that means the circuit is okay. The fault is from the sensor. The third one is the signal, which is the strip color, which is the signal. So I have to test that one. So now I'll test for voltage on the ground, which is the middle one, and that's the voltage. It's almost to the battery voltage, and this is the battery voltage. So I also test for the sensor voltage, which I should get 4 point something. So it's around 4.7, 4.6 volts. Then there is the main power, which is the same as the battery voltage. So that means the circuit, everything is okay. So all I have to do is to replace the sensor and start the vehicle. I have a used sensor, so I'll fit it back I'll fit it back and test it. After fixing the sensor, I'll come and erase all the fault code and check if the issue is fixed. So I'll erase the fault code and start the vehicle and see if there will still be a difficult starting, because the sensor they brought was an home use sensor, so I wasn't trusting it 100%. So it's still having the difficult starting. So I'll check if it is the same fault code. If it is as pending, then that means I have to check the circuit integrity of the system. So after fixing the sensor that they brought, this is the other one. After fixing the home use sensor that they brought, so I was not getting any signal from it, but the exhaust is the B, then the intake is the A. But you could see I'm getting signal on the B, but I'm not getting any signal on the A. I'm not getting any signal on the A, and the voltage is 1.4 volt. Let me change it to 5 volts so that you can see. So you see I'm getting 1 point something volt. That means the sensor is not working well. So what I'll do is I'll swap the sensors and see if it will work, if it's from the sensor, because he bought me a sensor and the sensor is not working. So now I'll turn it off and change the sensors. So if I take it out, you could see now the channel B is off, but if I place it in, the channel B will come back on and it's working again. So that means the sensor that he brought is not correct, so you have to get me an original sensor. So now I open the ignition, I turn the ignition on, and I'll test the circuit itself, which is working. I've already tested it and it is working. So start. So I've connected the scope to it, and this is the faulty sensor that was first in the vehicle. So I've gone for replacement for the one that I got. So they are now going to replace it and set it to 10 volts, and I've connected the channel B to the exhaust, but I've not changed the exhaust sensor yet. So with this one is 5 volts. So when I plug in the sensor, you see it will drop, the voltage will drop. You see, when I plugged in the sensor, it has dropped to 1.5 volts, which is supposed not to be like that, because it's not close to any metal. And even if I send it close to a metal, it doesn't change, it's still the same. It doesn't change, it's still the same. So I'll take it out, then and you can hear the throttle clicking because the signal was brought down. So if I connect this and put the signal to ground, you see now you can hear the clicking sound from the injectors and from the throttle itself and other relays clicking, because I'm always dropping this one to ground. So you can see anytime I try clicking on it and bringing the signal to ground, then you can hear the clicking. So now I'll request for a new sensor, then I'll continue from there. So now, after fixing the issue, I turn the signal wire, erase. So I erase the fault code. I turned the signal wire. I brought the signal wire to the power, and I took the power back to the signal wire. So I'll plug it in and see if I'll get the waveform that I need to get. But for this, I'll add the crank sensor to it also, so that I can get a correct waveform and see if my problem is fixed. I've not added the cam sensor yet, but I want to try and see now if I can get signal for my crank. If I'll get signal from it, so I'll start the vehicle. So now you can see the waveform. You can see that now I'm getting cam and crank wave. So now that means the issue that I'm having with the crank sensor is solved. Now it's able to produce a wave, but the waveform is bad, so I'll check why it's behaving this way. So I'll check why it's... So now anytime I plug in I plug in my multimeter to the sensor, I get the exact 5.6 volt, 4.8 volt. But anytime I send the meter to it, it's shutting it to ground. Now you can hear the clicks, which means it is working. So anytime I take it close to it, you see it goes to 0. I take the meter to it, you see it goes to 0. So now I'll plug in my Maziscope and also take another lead and plug it into the other one and see if it is fixed, and call it a fix. Now everything is okay. Everything is okay, and I'm done with the fix. So you can see I placed this one here and I brought this one back to its position. So now I swapped the wires and everything is okay. And now you can see from the waveform, you can see that the crank and the cam waves are working. So let me push the orange one up, which is the intake and the exhaust. And now you can see the both of them are working perfectly. There is just a little noise in the waveform. So now it is fixed. So I'll shut it down and start it again and see if it's having a quick start. So now start it again. Now it's having a quick start. So that means it is a fixed. It has been fixed. And it starts very quick than it used to. Just a single turn and it starts. Yeah. So now I'll call it a fix. And you can see the waveforms too are perfect and they are working. So whenever you see this one down, this one's supposed to be up. That's the timing for Hyundai. But there's more noise, I think, because of my ground. So there's a lot of noise in the system. So now, when I fix the ground properly, now the noise is down. The noise has been reduced in the waveform. So now I'll call it a fix. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos. And now there is no fault code in the engine side, not even pending code. So let me go to EOBD. So let me select the protocol because I know this is a CAN protocol. So it will just go into it straight. It's not now going to stand. So let me go to port code. And now you can see they are permanent code. After some drive cycle it will go off. After some drive cycle it will go off. So now everything is solved and I'm done. Thank you for watching.